You enter the world blind inside a hole 5 meters deep beneath the scorching sands of the relentless Sahara Desert. The humid air is thick with the scent of your mother, a tiny, fragile shield against the 50-degree surface. Your skull is immediately dominated by 2 massive, absurd ears, already oversized for your miniature frame. These organs are your primary defense against the heat, a vascular radiator designed to dump warmth constantly and immediately. But they are also your ultimate curse, forcing your tiny body to perpetually leak precious moisture into the dry atmosphere. Your entire life is not a heroic quest for food, but a desperate, slow-motion fight against catastrophic, certain dehydration. You are the smallest fox on the planet, a fragile bag of bones and nerves trying to conquer an infinite wasteland. When you finally emerge from the den, blinking at the merciless sun, your fragile existence begins immediately. The heat is a physical, living thing, an invisible predator that wants nothing more than to suck the water from your blood. Your feet are insulated with thick fur pads, which helps you move across the scorching surface like fire. But this tiny benefit is immediately neutralized by the agony of your hypersensitive, radar-like hearing. The silence of the Great Desert is a lie. For you, the environment is a constant, nerve-wracking sonic assault. You hear the wind moving individual grains of sand, a noise that is amplified to a perpetual grating hiss. You hear the faint, frantic scratching of a hungry beetle 100 feet away, a clear beacon of your dinner. This sensory overload is meant to help you hunt, but it turns every living moment into high-anxiety sensory torture. There is no true rest or true quiet. You are a natural-born insomniac, forever listening for the sound of death. You spend the brutal daylight hours in survival lockdown, buried deep beneath the Earth's fiery crust. You seal the entrance to the burrow, sealing yourself into a tight, humid pocket to preserve microscopic water vapor. Your first lesson from your tired mother is simple and brutal. Water is life, and water must be immediately killed. Every meal is not nourishment. It is a desperate transaction, a necessary effort to replenish your leaking reserves. That tiny lizard you catch must be swallowed whole to gain the crucial moisture contained within its reptilian cells. If you miss a single hunt, you are not just hungry, you are actively dying of thirst. The clock never stops running. The sand itself is your enemy, a crushing, shifting ocean actively trying to bury your entire life and legacy. You are constantly digging, using your tough claws to move hundreds of times your weight in hot, dense particles. You create an underground maze designed to maintain a few degrees of coolness and a valuable sliver of humidity. The space between family burrows is too vast, the risk of crossing the surface too great for fragile animals. You are a social animal forced into isolation, perpetually alone in an infinite, overwhelming, shifting sandbox. Your predators are efficient, ruthless assassins that utilize the very same desert silence that is your curse. The pharaoh eagle owl hunts silently from above, its immense wings casting a shadow you cannot escape easily. The larger, more resilient jackal views your fragile, tiny body as a quick, desperate, easily obtainable snack. But your greatest adversary is never animal. It is the relentless, unforgiving, inescapable desert environment. Every successful hunt, every narrowly avoided predator, is merely a temporary extension of your life sentence. You are always playing catch-up, always running a biological deficit against the laws of thermodynamics and physics. Your ears, the things that save you from overheating, are the things that betray you to every predator nearby. You stalk the jerboa, but your heart screams every time you strike, knowing your efforts broadcast your location clearly. The desert demands a cruel perfection. One single misplaced step or one tiny lapse in concentration means instant doom. You reach full maturity by 9 months, still pathetically small, still driven entirely by thirst and existential fear. Mating is not an act of romance. It is a necessary, hurried transaction during the brief, unreliable rainy season. You must seize the small window of opportunity when the environment briefly permits the creation of more thirsty mouths. You fight rival males not with brute strength, but with a frantic yelping sonic war played out under the indifferent moon. Your genetic imperative is to produce more Fennec foxes, more tiny bodies destined to fight this desperate heat. You are programmed to fail gracefully, to make your death as expensive as possible for the harsh, unfeeling world. But you manage to survive, mastering the sand and outrunning the jackal, year after grueling year after year. The environment throws everything at you. Sandstorms that bury your dens, floods that drown your babies immediately. But you endure, a tiny, tenacious master survivalist, perpetually moving, perpetually digging, perpetually listening carefully. You think you have beaten the sun, you believe you have conquered the desert, you believe you have won your freedom. But then you encounter the true apex predator, the one that does not need to hunt for water or food to survive. It hunts for vanity, driven by an aesthetic impulse that views your struggle as merely a cute, marketable novelty item. The humans arrive, lured by the very thing that makes your life miserable: your perfect size and your giant ears. Your perfect survival equipment is immediately your doom, a biological vulnerability used as a high-value commodity. A blinding spotlight hits you, a net captures you. Your wild existence is immediately reduced to a tragic spectacle. They don't want your meat or your fur. They want you as a commodity, an aesthetic curiosity in a room miles away. The transition is immediate and cruel. One moment you are the master of the Sahara, the next you are a fearful prisoner. You are placed in a small, sterile cage, surrounded by noise that your sensitive ears amplify into a continuous shriek. The concrete floor burns your paws, not with the clean, dry heat of the Sahara, but with a suffocating, unnatural warmth. You are given water in a bowl, a luxury you spent your whole life killing for, and yet you cannot drink in peace. Your brain screams at you that this luxury is wrong, that this unnatural convenience must surely be the final trap. You are not dying from the heat you mastered, but from the unbearable stress of the endless, unnatural human noise. The loss of your purpose, to survive the Sahara, is the final and most effective weapon used against your magnificent spirit. You die from the quiet boredom of captivity, killed by the relentless anxiety you cannot tune out or escape from. You are the Fennec fox, the small, magnificent desert warrior whose ultimate tragedy is to be deemed simply cute. You beat the sun, the sand, and the scorpions, but you could not beat the impulse of a human wanting a pretty pet. Your life was a masterpiece of biological struggle, reduced to a novelty in a terrible, sterile, foreign environment. Every struggle, every avoided danger, every single drop of water you fought to keep in your body was merely a loan. That massive loan, covering a decade of struggle, is now suddenly repaid with the total and absolute loss of your freedom. You are an immortal survivor stripped of the only environment you were ever perfectly meant to conquer and thrive in. The hostile desert was your beautiful challenge. The comfortable cage is now your cold and permanent and unavoidable tomb. You lose the game not to death by nature, but to the crushing indifference of the apex predator that stole your only home.